How is he?
Please be seated.
Please, Doc, tell us how he is. Don't hold back. Give it to us straight. What is it? Is Tommy going to be all right?
I'm afraid we've discovered a very serious condition.
What is it? What have you found?
Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, after extensive research and many tests, we've discovered your son Tommy is a COOTIE. Now, we may be wrong. It's only a theory. But maybe we don't want you to worry, for we have the finest staff in the state, and we're even flying in Dr. Heidelberg from Vienna to examine your son. So rest assured, he's in the best possible care.
Do you think we can see him now?
Certainly. Tommy?
Stop. You and you and you and you. I'll stick you some thermometer where it goes.
All over the world, this scene is taking place. China, Zanzibar, the playground at Devonshire's Park. Millions of children are succumbing to that dreaded disease, COOTIE-itis. Once only a myth, now a reality, COOTIE-itis, the abbreviated name for, "Ooh, get away from me, get away from me!" is rapidly spreading amongst the youth and their offspring. In the next few moments, we shall attempt to explain and hopefully enlighten you to this serious syndrome. 5,000 years ago, it was vermin and pestilence which threatened the existence of man. Surviving almost complete devastation, we rebuilt ourselves until the 1700s, where we were struck with a disease which not only affected the physical well-being of man, but his overall psychological hopes for a future. This disease being the Black Plague. In more recent times, we have been struck with many not quite so shattering afflictions, such as swine flu, smallpox, the heartbreak of psoriasis. But many authorities believe that these diseases are nowhere comparable to the scope of havoc that could be wreaked by COOTIE-itis. How one becomes a COOTIE is still one of the many unanswered questions of medical science. Some religious fanatics believe that it is by God's will that one becomes a COOTIE. And yet, there are those men of science who maintain that there is a definite biologic, genetic factor involved, offering as their answer commonly the phrase, "Well, your brother was a COOTIE, so you are too." Let us look at an interview with Dr. Bloomfield Hippolito, one of those, quote, men of science. Dr. Hippolito is the head administrator at the children's department at St. Babe the Baptist High School in Blue Moon, Idaho.
Doctor, what is the basic difference between the COOTIE and the normal human being? In essence, what is COOTIE-itis?
Well, as most doctors believe, there are two distinct aspects, this being the physical aspect and the psychological aspect. It is these two aspects that make up what people commonly refer to today as COOTIE-itis.
I see, Doctor. May we take the physical effect first?
Certainly. Most doctors feel that there exists something so small that it has not been perceived by the human eye, naked or otherwise. Something so small that is smaller than the atom itself. Something so small that evidence of its existence has not been determined yet, either through many methods, either, say, the tracing of radioelectronic parts or particles with the ilcals on the end, or perhaps by the nuclear microscopes or telescopes or binoculars, as the case may be. It usually used in the discovery of scientific stuff.
But Doctor, if you've never seen this molecule, how do you even know that it exists?
exist, thank you. Information says they exist. I mean, can't argue with Ma Bell to raise your rates.
Thank you, Doctor. May we move on to the psychological effect now?
And now we've hit on a topic I'm qualified to discuss.
This psychological effect, is it environmentally induced or is it hereditary?
Well, once again, if I want to answer correctly, I must speak chemically. Here I have a low-key molecule, which I know absolutely nothing about. But in my little drawer down here, I have a C2H6 molecule, though this being the Jewish specimen, it's a C2H595. Note the roundness of the upper portion and the support of the bond at the bottom. This is located generally at the base of the brain. Now, in contrast to this creature, so to speak, here we have the COOTIE molecule. Note the strange resemblance to Sonny Bono, the lack of anything on top, the no support at the bottom. This is generally located a little lower in the body. The gluteus maximus, posteriority, either of the two rounded portions is located at the back of the hips.
You mean the body?
I'm a doctor, I like to use more clinical terms. Please, can we have another question?
Yes. What is this molecule's relationship to cootietis? In essence, what exactly does this molecule do?
Well, I think that question could probably best be answered on a diagram. See, the COOTIE molecule infects the body and it sets up a false closeness with the Lord, by which the COOTIE finds himself developing a false closeness with God and feeling a desire to walk in the house of the Lord and situate himself in the guest room. Through this, the COOTIE envelops himself in a fantasy world, a land where Ovaltine grows freely on the trees, a land where the color yellow is predominantly red, a land where Ajax shakes out white and stays that way, a land where Braille is spoken fluently, a land located about 26 miles southeast of Cleveland.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Even with this vast amount of knowledge on the subject, there still remains one very important question which is yet to be answered. And that is very simply, how is this COOTIE molecule transmitted? Is it, as some believe, by God's will? Or is it, as most scientists believe, a biological genetic factor? Doctor, what do you say to this?
Your brother was a COOTIE, so you are too.
I'm Toby Willis. I'm standing in front of one of the newly constructed COOTIE inoculation centers set up by the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Behind me is Dr. Earl Pegasus. He's one of the newly appointed GPs, or Good Protectors Against cootietis. Dr. Pegasus, may we have a word with you?
My God, woman, have you been cootieized?
It's all right. I had it when I was a child.
Well, I can't afford to take chances. Had I known she wanted to shake my hand, I would have worn my rubber gloves.
Dr. Pegasus, this being National Cootie Prevention Week, we thought it would be beneficial to alleviate some of the fears people have concerning the cootie inoculation shot to show an actual demonstration of the inoculation.
Oh. Would you come forward, please? Nurse? The first thing we do is to clear the arm of any debris or germs which may have accumulated there. You like to eat coconuts, do you? Just inoculates right. Oh, clear up in weeks. You look good. Next is simply the inoculation. Nurse, my inoculator. And that's all there is to it. It's really very simple. My job is merely to inoculate all these people, to protect them from that dreaded disease, COOTIE-itis.
One last question, Doctor. What exactly did you inoculate him with?
My finger.
Parents' reaction when the first symptoms started to appear.
Well, at first, my father kept insisting it was dysentery, but my mother disagreed and kept smearing my face with Vicks Vapor Rub. But slowly it became worse and worse, and when I finally stuffed my little sister in a bottle of Prel to watch her blood flow to the bottom, well, they began to wonder.
Well, once they realized there was something terribly or seriously wrong, didn't they consider bringing you to a physician?
Well, my father kept insisting it was dysentery, and my mother wanted to save the expense of a doctor. So they took me to see her brother Louis.
Oh, is he a doctor?
No. Actually, he's a lettuce farmer. They thought the change of scenery would do him good.
Well, what did he say about your strange behavior?
Get that kid away from me!
Then what happened?
Well, as my behavior became more and more erratic, they decided to take me to see a doctor.
And what did he say?
Get that kid away from me!
And then?
Well, as time passed, I began to drift further and further apart from my family. You see, one night they tied me up in a rubber raft and set me afloat down the Ohio River.
Where did you finally receive treatment?
Well, as far as I can remember, I was pulled out of the water by a woman named Naomi who said unto me, I shall call ye Moses.
This is probably a behavior regarding the close relationship with God, a common symptom of COOTIE-itis.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what the doctor said. That's exactly how he said it, too.
Then, as I understand it, the woman took you immediately to the hospital.
Well, not immediately. We stopped off for a taco first.
But you did finally receive treatment.
Oh, yes. And when I finally regained my senses, my rationality, well, when I was finally cured, well, I unfortunately received the news that during the ordeal, my mother had passed away.
Well, that must have come as a terrible shock to you.
Although it was even a greater shock to my father, you see. He kept insisting it was dysentery.
We have spent the last few minutes examining the infamous disease, COOTIE-itis, with the hopes of enlightening you, easing your fears, and yet conveying to you the seriousness of the disease itself. Because ignorance can be just the catalyst needed to set off an epidemic which could strike any of us at any time or at any place. This is Alan Anthony with the staff of Medical Assembly, wishing you a good night.